and I was shown like my home dimension or planet or whatever you want to call it. I I was shown that that was, where I came from, and that's where my soul family resides, and it's where,
Nice.
it's where my higher self, it's where I reside always.
Hi, everyone. We're back. And today I'm with Eliana. Hi, Eliana.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about her experiences, her very uncommon experiences, I guess you could say, although it seems like these are getting more common the more we delve into these worlds, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Sure. So I'd like to read your bio to start, okay? And then we'll chat. Okay, Eliana Vallon is a psychic, past life explorer, OBE, out of body experience explorer, and spirit rescuer with a passion for helping to guide others through their own journeys of spiritual growth and evolution. Her near-death experience in 2012 awoke many latent gifts she had repressed from childhood, and the experience led to an intense journey with her guides throughout various lifetimes on this planet and in other star systems, as well as Atlantis and other water realms. Her guides helped her through many soul retrievals and helped her to understand how her other incarnations were affecting her current lifetime. Her passion and purpose is past life work and being able to guide others the way she was guided, with love, compassion, and patience for each person's unique healing process. On her website, she offers past life readings and soul retrieval, tarot and psychic readings, and Reiki healing sessions utilizing crystals. You can find her at rootandSkyReadings.com and on Instagram at rootandSkyReadings. And I'll have all that information down in the description. Okay, awesome. So, Eliana, will you please start with sharing your near-death experiences?
In 2012, I had gotten sick with sort of like adrenal exhaustion a couple times, and I was kind of coming in and out of that in 2012. But it wasn't, I thought I was getting better for the most part. And I went and began to do, I just started to have this almost, strange voice in my head, or this interest of like, hey, I'm curious about past life regression. I was just sort of curious about it. And, I had never read any books on it. Just the thought of it just really appealed to me. And I hadn't really ever thought about any about what happens after you die, or my extended family was kind of Christian, but they didn't really heavily influence me with that. I just knew that I didn't really resonate with that, and it didn't seem like that was all there was. So the concept of having other lifetimes resonated with me, even though I didn't really know anything about it. So I started doing these regressions, and it was just almost as if something about doing the regressions just opened up the floodgates, and so many memories came back, so many lifetimes, and just it was so vivid seeing who I had been, seeing where I'd been. There was just I lost track of how many lifetimes I went through, and of course I was guided through them with my spiritual team.
Can I ask you real quick? So you were doing these regressions in hypnosis or in meditation or with someone?
I started off doing them with someone, and then I just did them myself in meditation.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
Thanks.
And yeah, when these were happening, it was like everything in my reality changed, and it was like night and day shift, because once I understood who I had been, it influenced everything, and how I looked at the world, and how I looked at death, and And it is just such like an expansive thing when you know, previously just never had a second thought about like, oh, what's a past life or what happens when we die? I so yeah, I saw all these lifetimes, and then the more I did these regressions and like you could say like soul retrieval or just like, you know, being shown lifetimes where I did great things and the lifetimes where I did really bad things.
At
You
least you
know?
got to see the good things. When my guides showed me my lifetimes, they just skipped over my good lives. And I'm like, wait a minute, how come all my lifetimes are so traumatic? Don't have anything good where I didn't, die in terrible traumas.
Well, yeah, I mean, they showed me a lot of those too, like
Yeah,
a lot of those because they wanted me to like heal from those and they
right.
wanted to show me those for context. But I think it was also important. I had a moment of being like, do I ever just like die peacefully? So
Totally.
they would like, they would show me ones like that. But typically it would be lifetimes of significance where there was trauma or just, it was a significant role I played. I didn't see, I'm sure there were tons of lifetimes where I was just an ordinary farmer, things like
Yeah.
that.
That's
So
what they
like,
told me, is those lifetimes need to be healed, and they're on the surface that need to be healed. So there wasn't a reason, although they did throw me a bone and show me one that was mundane. So
yeah,
I call it skating lifetimes, where we come here to just skate and rest kind of
yes.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really wanted to see those too, because I was like, please tell me I've just been happy and like have a boring happy life.
Right.
But yeah, so those in the process of those, I began to sort of have what I would describe as like an awakening, or I think you called it a quickening. I didn't really know what to call it because I didn't know what was happening to me. I wasn't scared, but I could feel myself going out of my body way more. Like I had a job at the time and I managed to hold down that job. But anytime I wasn't doing a necessity like that, I would be out of body. I would be like, doing astral traveling, just the outside of time and space, it's like hours, like 15 minutes would pass, it would feel like hours, or hours would pass and it would feel like 10 minutes. So I would have to come back into my body for simple necessity things like taking care of my dog, going to work. But it didn't seem strange to me because I felt very pulled to be doing that kind of work. But it got to a point where I was like, I think you and I talked about, I had like one like pinky finger in reality. And the rest of me was just out. I was not, it's really hard to put it into words because, I haven't talked about it a lot to people because sometimes the reaction I get is people get a little bit like, think that it's weird or,
Mhm.
But the more I worked with my guides and the more I went through my past lifetimes, the more I felt as though, oh, I'm being prepared to essentially die. I'm being prepared to go what I thought I was going home. It wasn't a scary thought to me. It wasn't like, oh my God, I'm going to die. It was just like, oh, they're preparing me to basically just leave my body, not come back. And it was like a couple months, maybe like 3 months long process of this preparation. And I was shown like my home dimension or planet or whatever you want to call it. I I was shown that was where I came from, and that's where my soul family resides, and it's where
Nice.
it's where my higher self. It's where I reside always,
Mhm.
because this is just a part of me.
Can you describe that for us?
Yeah, it was a beautiful place with like a lot of forests and massive like oceans. It was like always sunny. There was like the type of sunlight is, like we experience sunlight here is it kind of burns your skin and it can be sort of like hot and uncomfortable. I remember the sunlight there was just so like it felt radiant and healing, and it never felt like painful or burning. And it was the sunlight that kind of like sustained everything on that dimension, like, which sounds strange, but, and it was just sort of everything seemed very like, I don't know, high definition, like everything was glittering and glistening
Mhm.
and like, I mean, it's just so different because like in the communication that I would have with like my family members there is just it's all telepathic and you know it's just so hard to put it into words, but it
Yeah.
was just a beautiful home, and it was, I could tell that this was where I go, in between lives and when I'm done with lifetimes, and it's where I'm, it's like my home base, it's my home.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I knew my family was there, I was like, oh, okay, well, I want to go, I'm ready, I'm being prepared, like I want to, reunite with them. Of course I do, because you know, as me, as Eliana, my biological family, I've never been close with them. So there's always been that ache, to want to reunite with your family and your soul tribe or whatever you want to call it. Um, so when I was being prepared, I was thinking like, okay, well, this is good. Like this is what, it felt peaceful, kind of like how if somebody is, on in the hospital and they know that their time is coming and they're no longer in pain and they start to sort of like see things that nobody else can see, but you
Mhm.
can tell that they're at peace and they're like ready to, they're ready to go, they're ready to transition. It felt like that's what was happening to me, but just slowly over 3 months. So it's like I was becoming more and more and more detached from the body, and to the point where like I just felt uh it was difficult, it became more and more difficult to even like the things that I used to have as priorities just stopped being priorities because I was like, well, I'm it's hard to put into words, I'm failing.
No,
I don't know,
you're doing great. Yeah,
I don't know if this makes sense
totally.
so far.
It does. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, being prepared, or where you think you're being prepared for going
Yeah.
home. And I believe every day we're preparing for going home.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so yeah, they had given me like a rough date for when it would happen. It was sometime in December, like the end of December. Well, it was actually around the winter solstice, I think. Um, there was some significance with that. And I remember they were like, okay, well, what will happen is that you will just, if you're ready and if you are really, really, really ready, you'll just go to sleep and that'll that'll be it. You will just leave the body. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm totally ready. Look what's waiting for me. um, my only reservations were leaving the people here that I loved, of course.
Mhm, mhm.
But at that point, it seemed so inevitable that I was going home and that it was something that was like being, a choice that was being given to me. And it seemed like, okay, this is what I want. This is the right thing. Um, and then when that night came, I remember it's difficult because like everything that happened when I was that out of the body, it's hard to remember now because I'm very in my body. Like I'm
Yeah,
very grounded. So it's almost like, to get there and to get those memories, I would have to go into like a really deep meditative trance state to access them again.
sure.
So all I really remember is that I decided, no, this is not the right time. And I got the sense that things, if I stayed, if I left, then that's it. But if I stayed, things were gonna get a lot worse and a lot more difficult for a while. Not forever, but for a while. And
That's it. That's, sorry for interrupting, but that's very interesting because from what I know about people who have had near-death experiences or something similar, that is the theme, I know for me and for a lot of people. And I listened to podcasts, started listening to podcasts of near-death experiencers and have some people on here too. And it seems like afterwards, and they're even told, but you had that intuition that things are going to get worse or more challenging, I guess you could say, chaotic and that kind of thing for them.
Mhm.
So that's interesting. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. And then like,
Why can't they get it easier?
I know, like, why can't, and I have like, I think I read and this was afterwards, after I had made the choice. I read a book by some woman where she had a near-death experience, and I got the feeling that when she came back, everything did get easier for her.
Oh,
So
yay.
it can happen for sure. It's not like, but for me, I got the sense that it would, and it was part of, what I signed up for, part of the process.
Mhm.
And all I remember is, like that door, it's like, here's the doorway. That doorway was open to me and the other doorway was staying. And I just intuitively, I was like, I can't go. I can't walk through that doorway. And it caused me a lot of stress and confusion and questioning as to like, I was like, well, I thought I was being prepared for this. Like, what, why am I, why are they asking me this again? Like, why am I, and it's almost like there was a part of me that's like, no, I want to go through that door because I want to go home and be at peace. But it just didn't feel right. There was just something where I was like, no, I'm choosing to stay, even though I know it's going to get worse and I know it's going to be really bad.
Wow.
So
Well,
that,
thank you for staying.
oh yeah, you're welcome.